Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Victoria Bernice and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit subscribe because you're back here for more, so you might as well go ahead and subscribe to my channel. With that said, today's YouTube video is all about egg freezing. I decided to make this video because I noticed there wasn't a lot of discourse around this topic, and I'm hoping I can change the game. I know there are other women out there who probably have thought about doing this or have heard about it and don't know much about it or what to expect or anything like that. So I decided to freeze my eggs because, girl, I turned 30 years old and I was like, all right, I don't have any kids yet. And if you're a woman, you know that there is a lot of conversation about how the clock starts ticking, especially after the age of 35. And if you want to freeze your eggs, it is highly recommended to do so during your early 30s or even within your 20s, because the quality of your eggs are pretty much at its best and you'll just have the best results, because the older we get, apparently our egg count sucks. So, and before I go any further, please leave your judgment at home. If y'all want to know more about egg freezing and the process and what options are out there, this video is for y'all. So if you have any judgment to lay, please leave it at home, honey. I decided to go through my egg freezing process with a company called Cofertility. I chose this company because it was the best option for me financially. If you don't know, egg freezing and the whole process itself is a very expensive process, and it can cost anywhere between $5,000 to $20,000 depending on which facility you decide to go with or what your situation is. I don't have that kind of money to just drop, nor did I want to go into like a lot of debt to make this happen. So during my research, I did stumble upon Co-fertility. So they freeze some of your eggs in exchange for donating some of them, which means your donated eggs would go to an intended parent or just an egg bank where they keep eggs for future parents that are looking to have kids and can't conceive naturally. So yes, that means when you donate your eggs, you could potentially have offspring out there that are biologically related to you. Does that make you a parent? No, it just means there might be someone else out there with your DNA. At first, I was donating to intended parents, but unfortunately that didn't work out. So I was able to just donate my egg to the Co-fertility egg bank that they have. By the way, while I'm speaking, please feel free to drop a comment. Any questions or concerns that you may have, drop them in the comments. I will be responding to all questions and concerns below. Once I found Co-fertility, I did go online. I filled out this very extensive application. I did a consultation on the phone just to make sure I understand what I'm getting into and what the process is. And their representatives are really great. I was working with Coco, who had so much information, was very detailed, and pretty much held my hand through this entire process. And that's what I love most about Co-fertility. They really were there for me and made me feel safe and comfortable in going through with this. Before they accept you as an official egg donor candidate, you have to go through blood tests, a lot of consultations, doctor's appointments, and yeah, you learn a lot about yourself too, just like biologically. For example, there's like an extensive report done on your DNA that tells you like what potential diseases that runs in your DNA that you can like pass on to your children or, you know, future offspring. It really goes deep, and it's a very extensive like background check before you are accepted into becoming an official donor. Once you are approved as an official donor, you go through the hormonal stimulation process, and this is a very, very time consuming. For me, it was a little mentally challenging just because I do not do well with needles, so it was physically and mentally challenging for me. Within the hormonal stimulation process, you do have to take medications in injection form, which are shots, every night for about 10 days. In the beginning, you take 2 injections. One is called Menopur and Follistim, and you inject it yourself every night in your lower abdomen for about 10 days. Within the last 5 days, give or take, You're also going to take another shot called ganirelix, I think. It starts with a G. I'll insert the name here. And you inject that shot for like the last 3 to 5 days. And then the day before your actual procedure, you do inject yourself with 2 more shots, and you stop all the other ones. These are the last 2 shots you will take, which will trigger ovulation in your body so that the doctor can extract the eggs from your follicles. I know, that's a lot. It's a lot, honestly. It is a little scary at first if you are someone like me that doesn't do well with needles. If you do well with needles, then this is gonna be a breeze for you. Another thing you have to go through is several doctor's appointments throughout the week, because the doctors need to check in on your follicles, make sure the medication is absorbing in your body and doing what it needs to do. I would get blood tests like every 3 days, get a sonogram almost every 3 days, and it was a lot. It is time consuming, but like, you gotta do what you gotta do if you wanna get this done. Shout out to all of my friends and family that helped me do these shots, because in the beginning, I could not do it myself. I ended up doing the rest of the shots by myself, probably midway through the process, because there was one night I got an email from the doctor's office and they were like, hey, you need to start taking the ganirelix. And I was like, it's 10 o'clock. I have no one to help me. I'm home alone. And I just did it. I was just like, all right, staring at the needle and I was like, oh my God, I'm alive. Of course, all of these injections did affect me mentally and physically. It's kind of like comparable to period symptoms, even like pregnancy symptoms. I do feel like they can be similar, just because, like, you know, you're just injecting your body with a bunch of hormones. Like, you get mood swings, you know, you might be extremely fatigued. I was extremely fatigued, I'm not gonna lie. I felt like how I would right before I'm about to get my period. And then also, when your follicles are growing in your lower abdomen area, you kind of feel it. Like, you just feel something's going on down there, kind of like when you're about to get your period, but like more so on the sides. You feel something's going on down there, and it also just feels like a lot of pressure, just pressuring down toward your bladder. I don't really know how to explain the feeling, but that's the best way I can explain it. And then as far as like mood and energy, I'm not gonna lie, my energy wasn't like at 100. Like I said, I was extremely fatigued, and I really had to fight that. Something I do wish before starting this process was that I was on a good health and wellness regimen, because when I'm on a good health and wellness regimen, I do feel like my hormones are more in balance. So I would recommend that as well. Just like, you know, eating well, not eating processed foods, eating whole foods, at least like 3 to 4 weeks before starting this process, because it does also benefit you in extracting the best quality eggs from your body, and saves you from like really feeling the effects of this whole process. I'm someone that hormones, yeah, me and hormones, like, mentally and physically, we don't go together that well, you know. So if you know your body and you're someone that's like me, then I would suggest, you know, taking some notes. Once all of the shots are done and you take the last 2 trigger shots, you will have your procedure about 24 hours later. The time that you take your last 2 trigger shots is very important and corresponded to when they will do the procedure. So make sure you are on point with those last 2 shots. Taking all of these shots are really important, because if you don't, you will have to start the whole entire process over, and you do not want to do that, because this is a very time-consuming, mentally and physically taxing process, in my opinion. So be on top of your shots, be on top of the timing they ask you to take those last 2 trigger shots, and make sure you make it to your procedure appointment on time. My procedure appointment was done in the morning around 8:30 a.m. When I got there, I was asked to change into a hospital robe, and I went into the procedure room. All of the nurses and the doctors were extremely nice and made me feel very safe and comfortable, which I'm so grateful for, because I did have some fears. This is a very invasive procedure, and there are some risks involved. Now, the risks are very slim. Like, The chances of these happening are like 1 to 5%, I think, at most. But you just never know. You could always be a part of that 1%, and you just never know. So the thought was definitely on my mind. And of course, I was in the procedure room by myself, and they're injecting me with IVs and stuff like that. And again, like, I'm not someone that's like does well with needles, so it was a little bit overwhelming for me at first, but the nurses made me feel so good. I even asked them at one point, I'm like, am I gonna be okay? I turn into a 4-year-old when I'm in the hospital. I'm like, am I gonna be okay? They do sedate you for this process. I mean, I would say thank God, because I couldn't imagine going through this and not being sedated, because I would imagine it's very painful if you're not. The doctors asked me to talk to them, and we were talking about Severance, where I was from, and then shortly after, I think I dozed off and I woke up back in the procedure room chair, and I was fine. I did wake up with like a little bit of cramping. It was pretty painful, I'm not gonna lie, like really bad period cramps. They did give me painkillers for that. I was nauseous. They did give me water, which is all normal, and it was honestly overall pretty smooth. Now, you are asked to have a companion with you, or just an escort to escort you home and potentially be with you for the next like 10 to 12 hours, and you are recommended not to drive or operate anything mobile for the first 24 hours of your procedure. It's crazy though, because one of the doctors was like, oh yeah, you're gonna be able to do whatever you do normally in the next like 12 hours. So right after the procedure, I did feel, you know, like I said, nausea, some cramping. They let you chill out for like 60 minutes. Thankfully, my little brother was there. He escorted me out, and that was that. We went and grabbed breakfast right across the street from the doctor's office, and then my dad picked us up and drove us home. Later that day, I ended up going to sleep when I got home, and then I ended up going out later to grab food. And I felt fine most of the day. I made sure to just keep it calm, bed rest, not doing the most. But it wasn't until later that I really just started feeling uncomfortable, is really the best way to put it. I don't even know how to explain it, y'all, but I'm just gonna say this. I was bloated AF. I was constipated, like literally not pooping, and TMI, and bloated AF again. And then also I just felt extreme pressure like toward my bladder. That's the best way I can put it. Ultimately, I would recommend taking a few days off after this procedure, and maybe even having someone come and help you out around the crib, like, you know, just maybe bring you food just so you can be in bed. Just be in bed. You want to have a heating pad. If you don't have anyone around you, you want to have prepared meals that you can just warm up in the microwave or on the stove really quick, or have a nice little budget for yourself to like DoorDash, Uber Eats, breakfast, lunch, and dinner throughout the week. You also want to keep your meals light, like soups, smoothies, juices, because you are going to experience a lot of bloating. Like, bro, I'm talking, I looked 4 months pregnant. I'm not even exaggerating. For me, it really took about at least 7 days to really feel like myself again physically. Take the time you need. It's okay to be still. It's okay to heal. And I'm sure you're wondering how many eggs they were able to extract from me. They were able to extract 17 eggs total from my body with this process. So now my eggs are able to be frozen, and the egg bank will keep them for 10 years. And if I want them to keep them longer than 10 years, then I will have to pay for that out of pocket when the time comes. I think there are a lot of opinions about egg freezing, and I'm here to tell you, do what you think is best for you. And do your research. If you're interested in learning more about Cofertility and what they have to offer, go ahead and head to their website, cofertility.com. It's very informational. If you have any questions or concerns or comments, go ahead and drop them below. I will be responding to everything. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you guys again in my next video. Peace out.